Good evening. Thank you for welcoming me from Charlotte, North Carolina in the U.S. It's a beautiful venue this evening, and I wanted to just start for just a moment to ask a show of hands. Has anyone ever heard of the company named Pitney Bowes? 1, 2, minimal, 3, yeah, right. Okay, so Pitney Bowes is one of the oldest operating companies in America. We're celebrating our 100-year anniversary next year. And we too are going through a radical transformation from offering just no. We have a long-standing history of providing physical communications for organizations like yourselves, telco, insurance, etc. But the transformation that is underway for us is also digital transformation in providing solutions to our clients to engage their audience. And what I thought I would do is just start with a very brief video on Pitney Bowes so that you can understand a little bit more about the company. And all of this will tie together momentarily, so stand by.
At the heart of Pitney Bowes are craftsmen of commerce, skilled men and women, sharpening, refining, polishing, and honing solutions that enable billions of transactions in a connected and orderless world. In our software solutions group, we develop technologies that allow you to identify high-value prospects and deepen existing relationships, giving you a single view of each customer across your enterprise, so you can understand preferences and purchasing behaviors, detect fraudulent activity, and increase marketing effectiveness. We also provide data intelligence to precisely locate customers all around the world by overlaying geographic data and enabling in-depth analysis that adds context and insight, making it possible to pinpoint the best placement for retail sites, improve risk assessments, and deploy resources more efficiently. Finally, we supply the tools that allow you to communicate in more personalized, more relevant ways that improve satisfaction, decrease support costs, and drive sales. Whether you're looking to acquire and onboard new customers or retain them with innovative video solutions for reviewing statements, paying bills, and answering questions. Identify, locate, communicate, individually, they're powerful capabilities. Together, they're the foundation of software solutions that help you capitalize on opportunities, engage customers, and build a business. Software solutions handcrafted by Pitney Bowes.
So as I was preparing for this presentation, I have to first admit that I'm not a pharmaceutical expert. My background actually is in the industrial marketplace, and I work with companies all over the world, not only in manufacturing settings, but insurance, and finance, and telco. And pharmaceutical for me is actually a new space, and I welcome the challenge. But as I began learning more about the industry and speaking with some of the representatives here, it became clear to me that this industry, specifically in Brazil, is going through a radical transformation. You see, it wasn't too long ago, in fact about 10 years ago, being a pharmaceutical rep was a highly sought after career. The big pharma companies like yourselves would provide a lot of the marketing, and they would drive the demand. And it would be easy for a rep to meet with a physician. In fact, the physician would open the doors and they would welcome them to come in. And it was up to the rep to really provide the data and the product knowledge and the insights to make the physician more educated in prescribing those medicines. 80% of the physicians in 2008 were accessible to a representative. In 2018, that number has declined to 40%. Think about that. That's a big shift. And it's even more important to think about how are our reps and our field sales organization engaging physicians in rural areas. Think about the drive time to go visit these folks. It's very challenging. According to a study by ZS, 26,000 of the highest volume prescribers in the United States receive over 2,800 touch points from pharmaceutical companies every year. What that breaks down to is literally every hour of every day, including weekends and holidays, they're getting touch points. Email, SMS, phone calls, meeting requests, white papers. Just a quick show of hands. Is your sales organization experiencing a decrease in face-to-face meetings with physicians, HCPs? Just a quick show of hands. Looks like the vast majority are. And I would imagine that those same organizations are facing a decrease in the duration of the meeting time. What studies have indicated to me in preparation for this session is that a physician is now only giving a representative around 2 minutes of time. 2 minutes on average. Now, if you go back to what Paulo shared in his presentation, 50% of the materials being shared were already shared via one channel or another to the physician. No wonder why the meetings are shorter. What value are you bringing me? As a physician, I need to care for my patients. I need to get access to data and information on demand on the device I choose and when I choose it. I don't want to be disrupted. I do need access. So are you finding it difficult to reach these rural communities? It's a rhetorical question. I know you are. It's very challenging. But if you think about the basic fundamentals of your business's success, it boils down to 3 things. We need to acquire more physicians. We need to grow the value of those physicians. And when I talk about growth and value, I don't just mean getting them to prescribe more of our medicines. What I mean is we need to lower our costs to enable them to do their job. So how do we make them self-sufficient? How do we give them the tools to make better decisions and, more importantly, to engage and educate their patients? In a moment, I'm going to challenge all of us to think in the future and what could be, using an example from another industry that we recently experienced. And then finally, retain. So we work so hard to acquire and engage these physicians. Did you know that a 5% increase in retention can yield upwards of a 95% increase in profit? That's unbelievable when you stop and think about it. But if you're like a lot of organizations, we're so focused on securing the next physician or writing the next prescription, and we're not doing enough to really embrace and retain our existing audience that we work so hard and we've invested so much in, particularly in those communities that are harder to reach. There's nothing more powerful than a subject matter expert sitting down with their audience and having a one-to-one personalized engagement. The challenge, as we all know, is this model does not scale. You have to hire a lot of people. And every time you hire, you got to train them. And every time you train them, you're going to have churn. You're going to lose some of those reps that you've invested so much in. So it's time to think differently. It's time to challenge the status quo. And what do I mean by that? Well, 80%, by 2020, online video will account for 80% of all internet traffic. That's astounding when you think about it. Videos actually increase the click-through rate of your email by upwards of 65%. So think about an email communication going out, and above the fold is a watermark play button on a beautiful thumbnail of the video that invites you into the experience. Now, better than that, what if your subject line said, "Dr. Jones, your personalized video of a new product is available"? Landing pages. If you incorporate video on a landing page, you're going to have upwards of 80% conversion. Now, when we talk about physicians and how they're learning about your product, they're going to your website. They're looking at your clinical data. They're reading about your products. They're trying to gain more insight. What's the dosage volumes? All of these sorts of things. And if you could incorporate an experience almost as though you had a concierge greeting that physician and walking them through the process that's specifically toward their needs, you're going to experience significant engagement increases. So let's talk for a moment just about video. Okay, we all know the traditional video that you would see on YouTube or a corporate web page. Everybody sees the exact same thing from end to end. Then along came personalized video, where you might have your name or elements of your persona incorporated into the experience. But at Pitney Bowes, what we've created is what we believe to be the latest innovation, and that's data-driven, personalized, and interactive video. Imagine creating a virtual rep who had the ability to engage hundreds of thousands of physicians in real time, uniquely to their area of expertise and their specialty, treating males differently than females potentially, or a 30-year-old physician different than a 60-year-old physician. What if the experience dynamically changed? And what if you could do this in multiple languages, on demand, 24/7, 365, with absolute perfection? Think about that. Remember that discussion we just had about those rural areas and difficult to reach, and the fact that the physicians don't have time, they're going to give you 2 minutes? Now you could do it, and you could do it very quickly. And you could measure everything. So I'm going to share an example with you. I worked for a company in Charlotte that sold information. It was a data service. And every one of our sales required a 1-hour WebEx demonstration. I needed to ask the audience a few basic questions. What is your industry? What is your job function? And where do you operate? What's your territory? Using those 3 bits of data, I could then create a highly customized demonstration of my product. Now, over 5 years, we experienced triple-digit growth, year over year, explosive growth. We had a new investor come in, And the investor said, David, you have a tremendous track record, but we have a concern. We don't think you can scale this business because it's so labor intensive. You need a rep to engage everybody. So the deal goes down, the new investor comes in, he sits me in the conference room and he says, now, I told you I wanted you to think about how many people you were going to hire. There are no limits. You have a blank check. How many people would you like to add? I said 0. I don't want to hire any more people. How are you going to grow this business if you don't hire people? I want to create a virtual salesperson that can answer these 3 basic questions. And when I know the answers, I can deliver high-quality demonstrations 24/7, 365. My profit per employee will go sky high, and I'll no longer have any limits. This was in 2009. The owner said, I think you're crazy. Nobody's going to watch a video for 5 minutes. You need them to watch for almost an hour. But given your track record, I'll give you some investment money. Go see what you can do. So, I'm going to try to play this video. Whoop. Can you, I think if you just hit the enter button, maybe. Oh, no, go back one. Click on the video there itself on the side, or maybe, yeah, there we go, thanks. So I came across a solution that allows me to make selections. This is for Manchester United. I'm choosing a favorite legend, a favorite player, my rival football club, and I put a little message into my friend Greg. I choose a soundtrack, and a video is going to generate that's personalized. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Why in the world is he showing us this video of Nike and Manchester United? Think about what I was saying earlier. I need to know 3 things to deliver a highly effective presentation. Industry, territory, job function. I came across this video, and what I realized was there's a whole bunch of video scenes behind the engine. And based on a selection, the technology then stitches this together to create a video. So I used this idea and I thought, this has a lot of potential to create a virtual rep. So, well, I was hoping I could play my video, but so I created a virtual rep, did exactly that, and within 12 months, I was able to generate a 223% increase in my meetings. Okay, so I had 6 sales reps. The virtual rep increased the meeting quantity by 223%. 22% of every virtual rep meeting resulted in a quote. 13% of every demo completed resulted in an order. This is scale. There was a 26% reduction in the demo time because you didn't have that human interaction and the small talk. You could just go right through it, and based on the selections that the audience made, they were getting their experience. And we experienced a 37% reduction in the sales cycle. We were off to the races. Monthly subscriptions grew by 80% in 1 year. I lost a lot of slides, guys. Yeah, well, that's okay. I'm not sure what happened. We have a number of different organizations throughout the world that we're doing this sort of business with. In telco, in insurance, pharma. Now, when you think about your space and your industry, one of the opportunities I think that we have, aside from just scaling the reach of our reps, is what if we had the ability to help our physicians actually engage their patients? I recently had an ACL surgery on my knee. Coming out of the surgery, I was heavily medicated, and the physician begins to walk me through post-op treatments. I have no idea what he's saying. I take my phone, I hold it up, and I record him. Because I'm thinking, when I get home, maybe I'll come to and I'll understand what I need to do. But what if we created a solution that allowed the physicians to share medical treatment or an understanding of the medical treatment post-procedure or post-diagnosis? Instead of handing the patient lots of pieces of paper, they could now get a personalized video, educating them on that treatment. Now, some of you may say, we have way too many regulatory constraints. We couldn't do that. And that may be the case. But I think what's possible is if we think about a physician and the dialogue that they're having, it's really no different than the experience that could be generated through a video. Mark Schoenbeck is the Chief Marketing Officer of a wealth management firm in the United States. Highly regulated space. He had the same challenge. His method of distribution was through independent financial reps, advisors, who have lots of choices when it comes to wealth management. Mark wanted a way to create a personalized experience that would cut through that noise, and that could also give the advisor a way to engage their investor. I'm going to let Mark share a quick story. If you'll just hit the play button on that.
Step back and think about the challenges that we're trying to overcome within our organization. In particular, the case study I'm going to share with you, we were just about to do a new product launch. The product in and of itself was not overly new or innovative. It was something that we needed to kind of fill our space. It was a challenge because we already had a very, very complex platform. And one of the things that we heard from our clients is like, whoa, way too much, help me understand, figure all of this out. So that was a piece of it. In the independent advisory space, it sounds like many of you are playing in that space. Very competitive, a lot of noise going on. It's a very long sales cycle. And their biggest challenge, the most important asset they have to manage is their time. So when we sit and look for solutions, I'm trying to do on purpose, and you heard it on the panel, during the setup approach, because you heard it on the panel. Don't give me advisor-facing advisor content. Give me content that educates me as the advisor, but that I can then immediately turn around and use with the consumer. So what do we do about that? So we call up Dave, we start working on it, and we're thinking about this application from a B2B perspective. Our client is an independent financial advisor. How do we communicate with them? How can we do that? So what I'm going to show you here is a sample of what we came up with as kind of the intro to our B2B option.
Hi, Stuart. Good evening. I'd like to put a message on here. Thanks for responding to our direct mail. We know that being a financial advisor can be challenging. You're constantly looking to acquire new clients, manage your time efficiently, and navigate the complexity of today's investment choices. But we can help. Over the next few minutes, We'll explore how curating our select portfolios to you, your business, and your clients. We'll see ways that you can leverage this interactive technology, share and customized investor presentation with your clients and prospects, and grow your business. Nothing else? This has to be the coolest thing to see.
So you get it, right? Hi, Stuart, customized, good evening, I'm your reporter this is the evening. And we launched the B2B, we're going full charge. The coolest thing, there's a lot of cool things about this, one of the coolest things from my perspective about this is that because it's a unique URL, it's a unique URL, the tracking and the analysis around the experience that our clients are having with the tool is phenomenal. And so what you have here is the output that comes from the system back to marketing and back directly to sales around who viewed it, who shared it. As they're going through the process, we ask them a question about what do you want to learn about? What are the challenges in your business? Again, center on them, not what great things you want to know about curating. It's what do you want to know? Where are your challenges? They say yes or no. We get that back in email. So now when my salespeople pick up the phone and call someone, that 10, 15, 20 minutes of kind of small talk trying to uncover what the advisor's issue is gone. So it's been phenomenal too when I step back.
So if you think about what's happening there, so it's a highly regulated space, just like the pharmaceutical industry. Curian is trying to reach independent reps. They're struggling to do that. They now launch this virtual expert who begins to engage the advisors. The advisor then, if they like what they see, has the option of sharing that experience, which is a client-facing version, to the client to ultimately initiate these face-to-face meetings. That's the overall objective. Okay, so it's a small audience, but within the first 5 months, they were able to initiate 2,600 face-to-face meetings with advisors. Advisors who participated in this experience delivered a 44% increase in business booked. The average viewing time of these experiences was over 9 minutes. Think about that, 9 minutes. You can't get a 2-minute face-to-face meeting, but we can get a 9-minute digital meeting because it's on demand and the viewer's in complete control. And they increased the book of business by $30 million in the first 5 months. So the time for change is now. The ability to create a virtual sales rep that is data-driven so that each physician is getting a tailored experience depending on their area of specialty, their audience, their patient types. All of this can be done. And if we think differently and we push the status quo, it's possible. When I came up with this idea in 2009, I had no idea that it would lead me here today in Brazil speaking to the pharmaceutical industry. We've done business in over 12 countries. We've got solutions in more than 8 different languages. This capability works. What we need to think about is how do we apply the technology? How do we take the data? I learned just before we got in here this evening that within Brazil, many of you have access to a summary of the types of drugs that physicians are writing. Think about what you could do with that in a personalized experience, branded on your behalf of your company. Think about how you could provide new clinical data updates on the fly in real time, because every time that the personalized URL is clicked, it has the ability to do an API call to a data file and to incorporate those data feeds. That's phenomenal. Now, I'm not suggesting that this is a replacement for human resources. What I am suggesting is it's a way to augment and extend your reach to make the limited resources that you do have more productive. To deliver a message that is clear and succinct, exactly the way you as marketers want it to be communicated to the physician. you have complete control, and you have complete measurement. With that, I thank you, appreciate this opportunity, and enjoy the rest of the evening.